When most people think about the brain, they think about thoughts, decisions, memories, emotions, or problem solving. Those functions are important, but they represent only a small part of what the brain actually does. Right now, your brain is helping regulate breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, hormone release, fluid balance, and countless other processes that keep you alive. It continuously gathers information from throughout the body, monitors changing conditions, and adjusts internal systems to maintain stability. What's remarkable is that most of this work happens automatically. You don't consciously tell your heart to beat. You don't decide when hormones should be released. You don't manually regulate your temperature or blood pressure. These processes operate in the background every second of every day. In fact, we rarely think about these systems at all. We simply expect them to work. Most people only become aware of them when something stops working properly. The surprising reality is that your brain is doing much more than helping you think. It is helping manage your survival, and most of that work happens outside awareness. One of the reasons we rarely think about the brain's role in survival is because these systems are designed to operate automatically. Most of the time, breathing feels effortless. Your heart beats without conscious effort. Your body maintains a relatively stable temperature, adjusts blood pressure when you stand up, and continuously monitors internal conditions without asking for your attention. Because these systems work so reliably, we tend to take them for granted. We don't wake up each morning wondering whether our heart will remember to beat or whether our body will remember how to regulate temperature. We simply expect these functions to continue operating. Ironically, we often become aware of these systems only when something changes. A racing heart, dizziness, shortness of breath, poor temperature regulation, or sleep difficulties can suddenly draw our attention to processes that were previously invisible. This tells us something important about the brain. Many of its most critical jobs are not designed to occupy conscious attention. They are designed to run in the background, freeing us to focus on daily life, while still maintaining the conditions necessary for survival. The better these systems work, the less we tend to notice them. Your brain cannot manage survival without information. To do that, it continuously receives signals from throughout the body. Specialized receptors monitor things such as blood pressure, oxygen levels, carbon dioxide levels, body temperature, blood chemistry, and many other internal conditions. These signals travel through the nervous system and provide the brain with a constant stream of updates about what is happening inside the body. In many ways, the brain operates like a control center. It is continuously gathering information, comparing current conditions to desired conditions, and making adjustments when necessary. What's remarkable is that most of this process happens automatically. You are not consciously tracking your oxygen levels or monitoring your blood pressure, yet your brain is paying attention to these signals every second of the day. This continuous monitoring allows the body to respond quickly when conditions change. Before you become consciously aware of a problem, the brain has often already detected it and started responding. Much of survival depends on the brain knowing what is happening inside the body at all times. Most people assume the brain tells us to breathe when oxygen becomes too low, but one of the main signals involved in breathing is actually carbon dioxide. As your cells produce energy, they continuously generate carbon dioxide as a waste product. If carbon dioxide begins to accumulate, specialized sensors called chemoreceptors detect the change and send signals to the brainstem. The brainstem continuously monitors this information and adjusts breathing rate and depth to help maintain balance. This is one reason the urge to breathe becomes stronger when you hold your breath. The sensation is driven largely by rising carbon dioxide levels rather than simply running out of oxygen. What's remarkable is that this monitoring never stops. Even while you sleep, the brain is continuously tracking these changes and making adjustments without requiring conscious effort. Most people rarely think about this process, yet it happens thousands of times every day. Every breath is part of an ongoing conversation between the body and the brain, helping maintain the conditions necessary for survival. Have you ever stood up quickly and felt dizzy for a moment? Most people have experienced this at some point, but few think about what is happening behind the scenes. When you stand up, gravity causes blood to shift toward the lower body. This can temporarily reduce blood flow reaching the brain. The brief feeling of dizziness or lightheadedness is often a sign that the brain is receiving slightly less blood than normal for a moment. Fortunately, the body has a rapid correction system. Specialized sensors called baroreceptors, located primarily in the carotid arteries and aortic arch, continuously monitor blood pressure by detecting how much the artery walls are stretching. When pressure drops, baroreceptors send signals to the brain. In response, the brain can rapidly adjust heart activity and blood vessel tension to help restore circulation. These corrections often happen within seconds and usually go completely unnoticed. Most of the time, this system works so efficiently that we never think about it. Yet, every time you stand up, your brain is helping coordinate a rapid response designed to keep oxygen and nutrients flowing to the organ that needs them most, the brain itself. Most people think sweating and shivering are simply signs that they are too hot or too cold, but these responses are much more than messages. They are active correction mechanisms. A small region of the brain called the hypothalamus continuously monitors body temperature and compares it to a narrow target range. Even small deviations can trigger a response. When temperature begins to rise, the hypothalamus can activate sweat glands. As sweat evaporates from the surface of the skin, heat is carried away from the body, helping lower temperature. When temperature drops too low, the brain can trigger shivering. Shivering consists of rapid, involuntary muscle contractions. These contractions require energy, and that energy produces heat, helping warm the body from within. What's interesting is that the brain doesn't wait for you to solve the problem. Sweating and shivering often begin before you consciously decide to seek shade, drink water, put on a jacket, or move indoors. The hypothalamus is constantly monitoring conditions, detecting changes, and initiating corrective actions. It's another example of the brain quietly managing survival every moment of the day. Many people think hunger begins in the stomach. While the stomach does play an important role, hunger is actually regulated through continuous communication between the body and the brain. One of the key players is a hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin is produced primarily in the stomach and tends to rise before meals, helping signal the brain that energy intake may be needed. Another hormone called leptin is produced by fat cells and helps communicate information about long-term energy availability. The brain does not rely on a single signal. It receives information from hormones, nutrient levels, recent food intake, and stored energy reserves. Much of this information is processed by regions of the hypothalamus, which help coordinate hunger and fullness. What's interesting is that hunger is not simply a response to an empty stomach. It is part of a complex survival system designed to help maintain energy balance. The brain is continuously evaluating whether the body has enough resources available to meet future demands. Most of us experience hunger as a simple feeling. Behind the scenes, however, the brain is integrating information from multiple systems and making decisions that help support survival over the long term. Most people think thirst appears only after the body becomes dehydrated. In reality, the brain is continuously monitoring fluid balance and often responds before dehydration becomes severe. A small region of the hypothalamus contains specialized sensors called osmoreceptors. These receptors monitor the concentration of dissolved substances in the blood. When water levels begin to fall, the blood becomes slightly more concentrated, and osmoreceptors detect the change. The brain can then trigger the sensation of thirst, encouraging fluid intake before the problem becomes more serious. This process is known as osmoregulation and helps maintain the delicate balance of water needed for normal function. What's interesting is that even mild dehydration can affect attention, concentration, reaction time, mood, and cognitive performance. Because the brain is highly dependent on proper hydration, maintaining fluid balance is treated as a survival priority. Most people simply notice that they feel thirsty and reach for a drink. What they rarely realize is that the brain has been continuously monitoring conditions and responding long before conscious awareness catches up. The ability to stand, walk, and move without falling depends on a remarkable system that most people never think about. Deep within the inner ear is the vestibular system, a group of fluid-filled structures that continuously detect head position, movement, and acceleration. Tiny sensory hair cells respond to these movements and send information to the brain. The brain does not rely on the vestibular system alone. It also combines information from the eyes and from specialized receptors in muscles and joints that help track body position. Scientists call this proprioception. Together, these systems allow the brain to build a constantly updated map of where the body is in space. What's remarkable is that balance depends on countless tiny corrections happening every second. Most of these adjustments occur automatically and never reach conscious awareness. We rarely think about balance until we lose it, but maintaining balance is another example of the brain continuously managing survival behind the scenes. When most people think about the brain, they think about thoughts, memories, emotions, and decision-making. Those functions are important, but they represent only part of what the brain does. Throughout this video, we've explored several survival systems that depend on continuous brain regulation. Breathing, blood pressure, temperature, hunger, thirst, and balance all rely on specialized sensors and feedback systems working behind the scenes. Chemoreceptors help monitor carbon dioxide. Baroreceptors help monitor blood pressure. Osmoreceptors help monitor fluid balance. The hypothalamus helps regulate temperature, hunger, and thirst. The vestibular system helps the brain track movement and position. Each of these systems continuously gathers information, detects changes, and helps coordinate responses designed to maintain stability. What makes this remarkable is that most of us rarely think about any of it. We simply experience the results. Yet survival depends on countless adjustments happening every second of every day. Your brain isn't just helping you think, it's quietly helping manage your survival.